Day 30 of 30 days of the carnivore diet. Yep, for 30 days I ate only meat, salt, and water.
If you spent any time on the internet over the last few years, you would have come across this diet where you eat only meat, fish, and eggs, and it promises quick weight loss, crazy energy levels, and maybe even relief from long-standing health problems. Yep, it's the carnivore diet, and it's blown up online. You see influencers raving about it, sharing some pretty dramatic success stories. And let's be honest, the idea of ditching plants and just feasting on meat is tempting for a lot of folks. But here's a thought: what if this dream diet for meat lovers has some hidden downsides for your health that nobody's really talking about? What if the shocking truth is that we just don't have this solid, long-term science to say it's a good idea for everyone? We've all heard it a million times. Fruits and veggies are key to good health. But now, there's this growing buzz that says cutting out all plants is the secret to feeling your absolute best. Some folks pushing this idea even say our ancestors were mostly meat eaters, and that plants are full of stuff that messes with our digestion. So does the science really back up going full-on anti-plant for better health for everyone? Or is this just another trend that could backfire badly? Today, we're getting into it. We'll look at the evidence, trying to sort out what's real from what's just hype, and find out the real deal about the carnivore diet and your health. So, what is the big deal with the carnivore diet? Why is everyone talking about it? Well, the promises are pretty tempting. You can't deny that. People who are into it share these amazing personal stories, claiming all sorts of benefits. Fast weight loss is a massive one. Many say they've dropped serious pounds. The thinking is that your body goes into ketosis, burning fat, because you've cut out carbs. Then there's the talk of better mental focus and steady energy, supposedly because a high-protein, high-fat diet keeps your blood sugar stable. And hey, some just find it easier to stick to. No counting calories or tricky meal plans. But it's not just about feeling generally better. This diet is also pushed for some pretty serious health issues. You hear a lot about it slashing inflammation, with some people who have autoimmune diseases saying they feel way better after cutting out plants. The theory is that by avoiding things in plants like lectins or oxalates, you can calm down gut issues and an immune system that's working overtime. There are even stories floating around about it helping with things like Lyme disease, asthma, and depression. It sounds fantastic, right? Eat meat, feel amazing, fix your health. But you know what they say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably needs a closer look. Alright, let's get down to brass tacks and see what science has to say about all this. The full-on carnivore diet means zero carbs, zero plants. You're only eating animal products. Think of it as a super extreme version of a keto diet. Claim rapid weight loss is proof of superiority. Now, it's true, a lot of people do lose weight quickly at the start. A big reason for this is probably because they've cut out processed junk, added sugars, and refined carbs, which just naturally means fewer calories. Plus, all that protein can make you feel fuller and even burn a few more calories. Also, the initial weight loss on such low-carb diets often includes water weight due to glycogen depletion. But here's the thing, you can get these same short-term results with other, less extreme diets. The real question is, can you stick with it? And what does it do to your health in the long run? That's where the evidence for the carnivore diet gets pretty thin. Some research suggests that initial weight loss might also involve a reduction in body mass index. Myth: humans evolved to eat only meat. Okay, so while some of our ancestors, like folks in the Arctic, ate mostly animal products because that was what was around, that doesn't mean it's the best diet for everyone, or that it's how most people ate throughout history. Actually, most human groups have done just fine on mixed diets with plenty of plants. This whole idea that plants are toxic and we're not supposed to eat them, it's a popular line, but it doesn't really hold up when you look at the broader science of human history and nutrition. Claim the carnivore diet cures autoimmune diseases and reduces inflammation. You definitely hear stories from people saying they feel much better with their autoimmune conditions. Some think it's because they're avoiding plant compounds like gluten, phytates, or lectins, which can cause trouble for some people who are sensitive. But here's the catch. Solid, well-controlled scientific studies looking specifically at the carnivore diet for autoimmune diseases, well, they're pretty much nowhere to be found. Sure, there are some individual case studies mentioning improvements in things like psoriasis or SIBO. Those aren't big, convincing clinical trials. Importantly, the idea that the carnivore diet automatically lowers inflammation for everyone, that's a bit shaky. Yes, cutting out processed plant foods might get rid of some things that trigger inflammation, but some studies actually suggest that red meat itself could increase inflammation and LDL-C. Plus, when you ditch all plants, fruits, veggies, nuts, and seeds, you're also missing out on all of their anti-inflammatory goodness like polyphenols and flavonoids. So if people feel better, it might just be because they've stopped eating ultra-processed foods, not necessarily because skipping all plants is some magic bullet. Myth. Meat contains all necessary nutrients, and you don't need fiber. Whoa, okay, hold on, that's a pretty dangerous idea. Animal products are definitely packed with some important stuff like B12, iron, and zinc, but they are seriously low or completely missing other things your body absolutely needs to stay healthy in the long run. We're talking vitamin C, which you need for your immune system, and making collagen, plus vitamin E, folate, magnesium, and potassium. One study that looked at carnivore diet meal plans found they often didn't meet the daily recommendations for thiamine, magnesium, calcium, sometimes iron, vitamin C, iodine, and folate. And the no fiber thing? Well, that's a huge red flag for most nutrition pros. Fiber is super important for a healthy gut. It keeps you regular, feeds the good bacteria in your digestive system, and helps produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which are key for a strong gut lining and fighting inflammation. Going without fiber for a long time can lead to constipation, mess with the balance of your gut bacteria, and even raise your risk of digestive problems and colon cancer. Now, some will say your body adapts on a carnivore diet, and you don't need as much of certain nutrients like vitamin C, but that's mostly just a theory that needs a lot more looking into. And the idea that fiber just isn't needed, that goes against tons of solid nutrition research. Claim LDL cholesterol, bad cholesterol, doesn't matter on a carnivore diet. Wow, okay, so this is really controversial, and honestly, it's a pretty risky claim. Diets loaded with red and processed meats are usually high in saturated fat and cholesterol, and those are known to push up LDL levels. High LDL is a major, well-known risk factor for heart disease because it can lead to plaque building up in your arteries. That's atherosclerosis, which can block blood flow and cause a heart attack or stroke. Some people on the diet brush off those worries or say that their HDL, the good cholesterol, looks great. But big health organizations like the American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association still recommend balanced diets. And what about eating too much red meat because of heart risks? In fact, some studies show people on the carnivore diet have significantly higher LDL cholesterol. Just ignoring high LDL because of what you hear anecdotally is not a good idea. Research has also connected diets heavy in meat to higher levels of something called TMAO, which is also linked to a greater risk of heart disease. So when you put it all on the scale, where does the carnivore diet land? Right now, for most people, it seems like the potential long-term risks really outweigh the benefits. Here's what science points to as the main worries. Nutrient deficiencies. First off, as we've touched on, you could be missing out on key nutrients. The lack of fiber, vitamin C, vitamin E, folate, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and all those plant-based phytonutrients is a big worry. Sticking to this diet long-term without really careful, doctor-supervised supplements could lead to problems like a weaker immune system, weaker bones, and more oxidative stress. Increased risk of heart disease. Then there's the heart disease risk. All that saturated fat and cholesterol can mean higher LDL, which isn't great for your heart. Big studies consistently link diets high in red and processed meats to a greater chance of heart problems and even dying earlier. Your digestion might take a hit too. No fiber can mean constipation and an unhappy gut microbiome. Without fiber, those good gut bacteria don't have much to eat, potentially leading to an imbalance and fewer beneficial compounds like short-chain fatty acids. And pretty much all research shows that a diverse gut, fed by different plant fibers, is linked to better health overall. While one small pilot study on just one person didn't find huge gut microbiome differences, it was far from conclusive. Much more research is needed. Kidney and liver stress. Eating a ton of animal protein can also put extra strain on your kidneys as they work to get rid of nitrogen waste, especially in people with existing kidney issues. This could also increase the risk of kidney stones. And what about cancer? Diets high in red and processed meats have been linked to a higher risk of some cancers, especially colorectal cancer. Not getting protective fiber and phytonutrients from plants makes this risk even more concerning. Let's be real, this diet is extremely restrictive. That makes it super tough to stick with it for the long haul. This can lead to that yo-yo dieting cycle and maybe even disordered eating patterns in some cases. But are there any situations where it might offer some benefits? Some people do say they see short-term improvements, especially with weight loss or feeling better from certain conditions. This could be because they've cut out processed foods or specific plant-based things that were bothering them. It's been floated that for someone with really serious gut problems or lots of food intolerances, a super restrictive diet like this for a short time might give their system a break. But these are mostly personal stories, and there's very little solid science to back up the carnivore diet as a long-term fix for these problems. Some scientists guess that this diet might change your body's needs for certain nutrients, but that theory needs a lot more solid research. Most of what we know right now is based on anecdotes or studies on low-carb diets in general, not specifically on sticking to a carnivore diet for years. So, what's the real shocking truth about the carnivore diet? Well, maybe the most shocking part is just how little solid long-term science we actually have to back up its safety and effectiveness for most people. You hear these powerful stories and confident claims from influencers, but when it comes to good quality, long-term studies on humans, the carnivore diet is pretty much in a black box. Another shocking truth, many of the good things people feel might not even be directly because of the meat-only aspect. That weight loss and better lab results some people see, it could be just because they've ditched ultra-processed foods, refined carbs, and tons of sugar. And you can do that with diets that are way less extreme and have a lot more research behind them. It's very possible people feel better just because they've stopped eating a typical unhealthy Western diet. Not because eating meat is magically better or the best way to go. And here's another kicker. There's a real tendency to downplay some pretty solid nutritional science. The super important jobs of fiber, essential vitamins and minerals from plants, and the amazing benefits of a healthy gut full of diverse bacteria. These often get brushed aside or ignored by carnivore diet fans. But that flies in the face of decades of research showing that plant-rich diets are great for living a long, healthy life and preventing chronic diseases. So, what's the balanced way to go for long-term health according to most scientists? It's probably not in such an extreme, restrictive diet for most of us. Instead, evidence points towards things like this. 1. Eating a variety of nutrient-packed foods. Focus on a wide range of whole, minimally processed foods. That means plenty of fruits, vegetables, legumes, and whole grains, which give you vital fiber, vitamins, minerals, and protective plant compounds. 2. Choosing lean protein, including lean animal proteins and plant-based proteins. If you eat red meat, think moderation and try to limit processed meats or even cut them out entirely because they're linked to some health problems. Some research even suggests that swapping red meat for chicken or even plant-based proteins like beans and nuts is better for your heart. Look after your gut. Feed your gut microbiome with lots of fiber from different plants. This helps your digestion, your immune system, and even your mood. Get personal and professional advice. Everyone's nutritional needs are a bit different. Before you jump into a drastic diet change like going full-on carnivore, it's really smart to talk to a healthcare professional, like a registered dietitian or your doctor. They can look at your personal health situation, make sure you're getting the nutrients you need, and keep an eye out for any potential risks. So, what do you think about the carnivore diet? Have you given it a shot or know someone who has? I'd love to hear your experiences and any questions that you have down in the comments below. Let's try to keep it respectful and stick to the evidence, please. Okay, so if this breakdown was helpful and you want to see more investigations into popular health trends, please hit that like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Your support really helps us keep making content that tries to sort fact from fiction. Look, the carnivore diet definitely sounds appealing with its simple rules and promises of big results. And yes, some people might see short-term perks like weight loss, though that's often because of changes that aren't just about eating only meat. But we can't ignore the serious lack of long-term science scientific backup, and the very real potential downsides like missing out on key nutrients, a higher risk of heart disease, and messing with your gut health. The shocking truth here isn't some big secret. It's simply that for lasting sustainable health, a balanced diet full of different nutrient-rich plant foods, along with good protein sources, is still the approach with the most science behind it for most of us. Going to extremes with your diet often brings extreme risks. When it comes to your health, the best path is usually one of balance and variety, not cutting entire food groups out. Always put the scientific evidence first and chat with your doctor or a dietitian before making any huge changes to how you eat.